Okay, we'll get started. So hello everyone and welcome to this webinar from Cambridge Centre for Evaluation and Monitoring, which is all about why do international schools in Europe choose Cambridge CEM. So I'll just start with a few housekeeping notes for the session. To ensure good sound quality, all members of the audience are muted. If you would like to ask a question, please post them in the questions section located on the right-hand side of your screen. We will answer all the questions at the end of the webinar, but please do post questions as we go through and we will look at them at the end. You will receive a certificate of attendance sent to your email inbox 1 hour after the webinar finishes, and you will receive a copy of the webinar recording sent via email next week. Please do post in the question box on the right where you're joining us from today. We'd love to hear who's with us and what country you're calling from. So I'll just say a few words to introduce Cambridge CEM, which is the Centre for Evaluation and Monitoring. We've been working with schools for 40 years in over 100 countries. We're known for our evidence-based research approach to baseline and formative assessments, using extensive data sets to support future outcomes and developments. We work with schools, ministries, and associations to transform the outcomes of the students they teach. In 2019, we became part of the Cambridge University, which has supported our reach and abilities to support young people across the world. We help teachers turn data into knowledge. We bridge the gap between research and practice, and we provide evidence to support good decision making. So I'd now like to introduce our presenter for today, Pavlos Pavlou, who is our International Business Development Manager, who will be leading today's session. Originally from Cyprus, Pavlos is an international business development, marketing and sales professional with over 23 years of experience in developing new markets and exciting opportunities within the education sector, nationally and internationally, as well as for numerous other industries such as technology and manufacturing. Currently, Pavlos resides in the northeast of England, and his main aim is to create awareness on using baseline assessments in schools throughout Europe and forging collaborations with education leaders, school heads, principals, and other educators alike, helping to maximise students' abilities and potential. So I'll now hand over to Pavlos to tell us a bit more about Cambridge CEM in Europe. Thanks, Pavlos.
Thank you, Coram. Hello, everybody, and good morning. It's a pleasure to be here to present to you today throughout Europe. So shall we get started? What shall we discuss today? You'll learn all about Cambridge CEM and the baseline assessments and how these help international schools in Europe to reveal student and cohort learning needs before the start of each course, understand how students are likely to perform at Cambridge IGCSE, GCSE, Cambridge O-Level, and Cambridge International AS and A-Level, as well as IB Diploma, inform school-wide improvement plans and strategies that support academic achievement, and demonstrate the effectiveness of teaching learning interventions to parents and governors. So, what is a baseline assessment and why is it important? Baseline assessments give you an objective measure of students' aptitudes and skills at the point they are tested. Using a good standardized baseline assessment that is founded on robust research will help you understand students' knowledge, skills, and attitudes, and thus make the best possible decisions to set realistic and motivational targets and focus on progress. Cambridge CEM's baseline assessments cover the skills that are most important for supporting success in all subjects. They're not specific, but they measure cognitive ability, such as vocabulary, mathematics, and non-verbal skills. Each of our CEM baseline assessments are based on extensive research and created to complement the stages of child development. There is a CEM baseline assessment for every education phase. The purpose of a baseline assessment is to provide teachers with a high quality, objective measure of students' aptitudes and skills at a single moment in time. It's not intended to measure anything a student knows. It's a sample of the knowledge and what they can do. Our baseline assessments use a wealth of research, evidence, psychometric theory building, and assessment measuring students' skills that we know are critical for accessing the full curriculum and ultimately for successful outcomes. The main components of our baseline assessment are vocabulary and mathematics, both of which are really important in supporting success in all subjects. These run across all age bands. Younger children we assess the early stages of numeracy and literacy. Older students are assessed on complex vocabulary and calculations. All of these are key and are linked to later success in curriculum. So before we get going, I'd like to show you this slide that shows all our assessment products, starting from early years to post-16, and how these are applied to different year groups. So we have here aspects for ages 3 to 4, which is nursery, PACE for ages 4 to 5, which is reception, Cambridge Primary Insight for ages 5 to 11, mid-years for 11 to 14, yearlies for 14 to 16, and dailies for 16 to 18, 19 years old. For those schools that have been working with us and use the INCAS, you can see that Cambridge Primary Insight is now taking the place of INCAS, our legacy primary assessment system, suitable for learners between the ages of 5 and 11 years old. It spans the primary phase of year or grade 1 to about year or grade 6. In this slide, you can see the different areas assessed by each of the CHEM products. For the early years to primary, each module takes approximately 20 minutes for a student to complete, and it can be either be completed in one combined session or in individual sessions to suit your timetabling requirements. For secondary, up to post-16, each assessment takes approximately 50 minutes for a student to complete. For aspects and base, the assessments are teacher-led, and that's to support the students conducting the assessments. Under 5, we wouldn't expect the young children to possess any computer literacy. All our other assessments are student-led. For example, the students will conduct the assessments themselves. All our assessments will support you identify individual needs, and for all our assessments, with the exception of aspects, you'll be able to compare student performance and identify core patterns and trends. For all our primary assessments, we provide you with age equivalency scores, and for all our secondary assessments, we provide you with predictions, summary of assessments. So for pre-16 is IGCSE, and for post-16 is A-levels or IB diploma. Here you can see CHEM's global footprint. We're working with 2,437 schools in 109 countries around the world, and it's broken down by assessment product used in schools, with INCAS leading the way, which, as mentioned earlier, is now evolved to Cambridge Primary Insight, or in short, CPI, and followed by mid-years, ALIS, yearlies, base, and the rest of our assessments. And now our European footprint. So in this slide, you can see CHEM's European footprint. Currently, we're working with 190 schools in 15 countries and growing. Again, it's broken down by assessment product in school, with INCAS, now CPI, leading the way, covering ages 5 to 11, followed with the rest of our assessments in pretty much the same order as in the global chart shown previously. So, are you missing a crucial piece? You can use Cambridge CHEM baseline assessments from any age between 3 and 19, either once or twice a year. I know that some of you have heard of Cambridge CHEM before or have attended previous webinars, but as some of you are new to baseline assessments, and this is a question that comes up quite a lot, I wanted to briefly outline the main differences between Cambridge CHEM baseline assessments and the other curriculum-based assessments that you're probably familiar with, such as Cambridge Checkpoint and progression tests. Here, we have a typical assessment cycle. Summative curriculum-based assessment, like Cambridge Checkpoint tests, which tell you how well a student has performed. Resources and Cambridge progression tests, which are tied to the curriculum, including self and peer assessment for units, help teachers and learners understand how well a student is doing on an ongoing basis. So, to complete the assessment cycle with Cambridge, baseline assessment is the missing piece. By knowing where students start from, regardless of previous curriculum or school background, a school can put all learners on a level playing field and understand essential strengths and weaknesses. Then, together with other diagnostic tools and data, when the student starts in your school, the teacher can plan an ambitious yet realistic endpoint and make sure the student stays on track during the year. Baseline assessment is becoming increasingly popular for a number of reasons. The most fundamental thing you need to understand is, in terms of your students, when planning, teaching, and learning, is that regardless of what educational background they've had, which country or curriculum they're coming from, whether they had access to those or not, the quality of their education, how well they cope with distance learning, and so forth, is what aptitudes and skills do they have, their needs as individuals and as students. How can you set realistic expectations with parents and school leaders, and how can you evidence progress and understand where you can invest your resources to get the most benefit out of your students? So, Cambridge CEM for comprehensive data about current abilities and for teaching. Cambridge CEM is part of Cambridge University Present Assessment. Our baseline assessments are not tied to any particular curriculum and will give you reports on students' core skills, as well as provide predictive grades for IGCSE, GCSE, Cambridge O-Level, Cambridge International AS and A-Level examination grades, and IB Diploma. In Cambridge Primary, you will get information for 5 key developmental areas, which are key for success across all subjects. These areas are reading, spelling, mathematics, arithmetic, and developed ability. We know that bilingual or multilingual children face a huge challenge when they enter school. Not only do they have to learn a new curriculum, but they must quickly understand new concepts and develop literacy skills, all in another language. Pretty much like myself, as being the making of an international school and learning English as my second language. So I've been there. Our assessments are effectively designed to help teachers help their English as an additional language students so they can identify, understand, and support their learning needs. So assessment support for every stage of the Cambridge pathway. Formative assessment or assessment for learning is a key part of our teaching and learning approach. Our adaptive formative assessments for Cambridge CEM give schools the power to understand their students' learning and help them reach their full potential. They test skills and aptitudes and help teachers understand how best to support the student and maximize their learning. Cambridge CEM is not designed to replace anything. It's designed to be used as part of a holistic approach to planning and teaching. As mentioned previously, schools can use our assessment alongside any curriculum. Even though your school does not have to be a Cambridge school to use CEM baseline assessments, they are the perfect tool for teachers delivering the Cambridge pathway, and are available at every stage of the pathway, helping taking their students along the route to educational success. CEM's assessments apply to all schools from early years to post-16 and are often taken at the beginning of the year, which helps teachers understand their students' starting points and how to support them. Cambridge CEM assessments do not measure subject knowledge. They measure students' cognitive skills and abilities and assess areas that are important for supporting success in all subjects and provide a much more holistic view of students, as well as the support they need to reach their full potential. So what aptitudes and skills that Cambridge CEM give me information about? The premise of Cambridge CEM baseline assessment is the same from age 3 to age 19. But as you can imagine, with different ages, there are different types of assessments and reports. Here are the areas where you will get information for each age group to give you data during your planning process. There are 3 main areas, no matter what the age. These are reading vocabulary together, maths, and non-verbal. So why are you here? Your needs as teachers. Cambridge CEM assessments help teachers to understand their classes and individual students' abilities and potential, understand strengths and weaknesses, inform teaching and learning, and plan interventions. They use data to set ambitious yet realistic targets for students, encouraging them to do their best, have hard evidence about student development to back up end-of-year assessments, and to provide evidence to parents of the impact of their teaching. For example, your child has improved an X amount in maths over the year. So, some case studies from some European schools to show the impact of our assessments into their schools. Cambridge CEM assessments give you confidence in your teaching and help you make the best decisions to support your students' learning. They give you the power to understand each student's potential, identify areas of strength or weakness, and benchmark performance against students of similar abilities. This means you can target your time and resources where students need it most, helping them to make progress and achieve their potential at every stage of their development. As you can see from the code in this case study, the International School of Geneva have gained a deeper understanding of student needs with Cambridge CEM assessments. The International School of Geneva currently uses INCAS, which is now CPI, MIDIS, YELIS, and ALIS for CEM IB to identify student strengths and areas for improvement. This helps them to achieve evidence-driven performance improvements throughout the school. The school was founded in 1924 and has grown to include 3 campuses with 8 schools, educating over 4,500 from age 3 to 18, with 140 nationalities and 80 mother languages represented. CEM assessments have been a vital tool to quickly understand what students know and can do and provide actionable insights to support their educational journey. Similarly, in this case study, having seen the benefits of CEM assessments in his previous schools, they were an obvious choice for Justin Nichols, the school principal at St. George International School and Preschool in Sofia, Bulgaria. In 2016, St. George introduced a range of CEM assessments for primary and secondary pupils aged 5 to 16 to support their aim of providing a comprehensive, inclusive, and internationally based education for its Bulgarian and international students. The analysis of St. George's scores have enabled them to see their cohort and whole school objectives clearly, set appropriate targets, and plan interventions. So, your needs as a school leader. Cambridge CEM helps senior leaders to benchmark the success of their school, use data to drive department-wide or school-wide strategies, and help improve the performance of the school and students. Use Cambridge CEM to measure success of implemented strategies, view data over time and understand if and how performance is changing, prove to prospective parents the effectiveness of the school's teaching, how far ahead their school is in certain areas compared to others. But what exactly are the key features of a CEM assessment, making it so special and unique to use? It's computer-based. It can be administered on a computer, but can also run online or offline. No teacher marking is needed. You get quick results, and it's easy to administer. We provide support at each step of your assessment journey to help schools utilizing CEM assessments, for example, setup, assessment, and data results interpretation. It's adaptive. Questions use an algorithm to tailor questions to students' knowledge based on students' knowledge and ability level. So, for example, if correct answers are provided, the questions and assessment will gradually increase in difficulty. However, if incorrect answers are provided, the assessment will present the students with easier questions. This means that no 2 students will see the same assessment, providing a completely adaptive and tailored assessment to challenge your students at a level that is appropriate to their ability. This makes them engaging for students and gives a fairer and most accurate indicator of ability. They're flexible, which means it fits into your lessons and facilities, and you can assess when it's right for your school, in groups, or individually. It's usually taken in the first term of an academic year, so teachers can assess the potential of a student. It measures skills that have the biggest impact on future academic attainment, and it provides you with robust and reliable data and a suite of insightful reports for teachers and school leaders. And what are the types of data CEM assessments that we give you to help understand the ability and true potential of new and existing students of any type of curriculum? Baseline data, which maps what students know, identify students' starting point, diagnose gaps in learning, shape your teaching to meet your students' learning needs, information at a pupil, class, subject, and school level. Longitudinal data monitors trends over time, monitor cohort performance over time, identify trends over time, compare the performance of previous years, target resources effectively. Predictive data set targets, and plan next steps. Secondary indicators to grades at GCSE, IGCSE, A-level, and IB diploma. Set challenging targets. Plan your interventions to help students improve on areas of weakness. Support students' progress with confidence. Value the data. Review success and share best practice. Evaluate student outcomes. Value the reports on results day. Measure the impact of your teaching. Share best practice and identify areas for school improvement. Some reporting examples. You can see here some reporting examples of standardized, individual, age equivalent, cohort, and other fundamental reports schools are getting to help them better understand the performance and ability of their students. We also have reporting that schools can share with parents and carers, used for discussions with them regarding maximizing their child's potentials. Here is an example of a parent report from our base assessment for Cambridge Primary for 4 to 5 years. It's nice to be able to share a report like this with parents and guardians to help them understand their child's abilities. Rather than just giving a score, it places them on a spectrum of ability and gives you a descriptor of where the child is in their literacy, mathematics, personal and emotional development. Here's an example of a parent and carers report for our midyears, ages 11 to 14, and yearlies, ages 14 to 16 assessments. This includes information about the Cambridge CEM assessment that the student has recently taken. It shows some example questions and displays the performance of the student in each section of the assessment. The diamonds indicate the student's performance in the sections of the assessments according to age-related expectations. You'll see that this student, Michael, has scored above expectations in vocabulary, mathematics, nonverbal, reasoning, and skills. Sharing this report with parents and guardians helps them understand their child's abilities and the Cambridge CEM assessment their child has taken. As well as having prediction graphs at whole school or subject level, we also have them at an individual student level. This is an example of a chances graph, which shows the percentage chance that a student has of achieving each level of a chosen subject. In this example, for IGCSE English Literature, based on the standardized score that the student has achieved through the assessment and using the rich data set that we hold of students' academic performance with a similar standardized score, that's providing us with the chances that the student will achieve each grade. This can support conversations with students to support installing academic targets and drivers to move towards the best possible qualifications that they can achieve. This can also support schools applying relevant support and guidance to maximize potential academic ability. Conversations with students and parents can include their chances of achievement at each academic grade point and encouraging students to go on to achieve the results they aspire to and avoiding falling short of their own expectations and those of their parents. So compare student outcomes with goals are value added. This report is used to compare the predicted grade that we give to your school for Cambridge IGCSEs against the results that the students actually achieved in their IGCSE exams. Where it's green and above, the residual line, black baseline in the center of the graph, your school has performed better than we predicted. The white line shows within the standardized residual, so effectively the subject has performed within expectations or our confidence zone, and where it's red, your school has performed below and what we predicted against the standardized scores that your students achieved throughout their CEM assessments. Effectively, this report shows the impact that your school and teachers have made to your students based on their potential ability. And this is what we call value added. This isn't intended to point fingers at particular subjects, but it's intended to provide information and help with whole school improvement, identify what's working well and what maybe isn't working as well. And how can different departments and teachers can work together and learn from each other. As you can see from this graph, this school's value added is positive from the school's perspective, with positive residual scores showcasing physical education, and graphics. This can start conversations around what has gone well with these departments and whether best practice can be shared with other departments. Comparing your school performance to others. This report allows schools to compare their average performance against other schools based on a range of relevant groupings. The circles on the chart indicate the average standardized score for that group. The brackets indicate the range of scores for each group, and this chart can be produced for each section of each of the pre-16 CHEM assessments, for example, vocabulary, mathematics, skills, and nonverbal and patterns. Our Cambridge Wellbeing Check, as well as our standardized baseline products, we have just launched our newest assessment, the Cambridge Wellbeing Check. This is a student-led assessment that allows you to evaluate, explore, teach, and promote well-being with your students. It enables you to quickly identify students who need extra support with their well-being. The check has a sound theoretical and empirical basis and is based on world-leading research from the University of Cambridge. The check runs on an easy-to-use digital platform and can be taken on any PC or laptop. The assessment lasts only 20 minutes to complete, fitting easily into a single session. Students will understand more about what well-being is and potentially become more confident to express their feelings to others. The model focuses on assessing 4 areas of well-being in the school context. In part, it focuses on students' feelings, assessing life satisfaction and negative emotions. It also focuses on students' functioning, assessing competence, well-being, and interpersonal well-being. Mental well-being is a combination of both feeling well and functioning or doing well. This can relate to any domain of life, and in our context, this means feeling and functioning well in school. So to summarize, why do schools in Europe choose CHEM assessments? We work with many schools across Europe, and I personally speak to new and existing ones on a daily basis, and they all tell me the same thing, how much they value our data. From whole school data right down to the individual student. CHEM assessments provide that data in a quick, simple, and easy to understand way. These insights can look across your whole school and allow you to build strategies for school improvement while also creating bespoke guidance for individual students. CHEM assessments allow you to track changes over time in your school and develop action plans and interventions. Student data is also there to inform conversations with parents, carers, and help understanding of student progress. CHEM assessments can support all international schools, and they are applicable to a range of curriculums. They are also suitable for English as additional language learners. In closing, I would like to stress the fact that with Cambridge CHEM baseline assessments, we're empowering teachers to make a difference. Used by educational professionals for over 40 years in over 109 countries, Cambridge CHEM is one of the largest providers of assessments for children of all ages from early years to post-16, with 480,000 students assessed each year, giving them the opportunity to improve their academic abilities and reveal their superpowers. We've reached the end of the presentation. Now for next steps, this recording and the webinar and the slides will be sent to you via email next week. Please get in touch and send us your thoughts through the feedback form that we'll send out to you. I would like to thank you for your time to attend our webinar this morning and learn why European schools choose to use CHEM assessments and also hear about our latest developments. Please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. My details can be found on this last slide. You can share your thoughts with me, ask any questions one-to-one, discuss how I can help you use CHEM assessments into your schools, arrange live demos for your school, and anything else you'd like to discuss, just let me know. Thank you.
Great, thank you for your presentation, Pavlos. As you said, we've got some time now to take questions from the audience. So you can find the question box on the right-hand side of your screen. please do ask any questions about what we talked about today or anything that we didn't cover, and we'll try our best to get through them all. So I'll just see if we've got any coming in. Okay, so we have a question here. In fact, we have a couple of questions about, is it possible to find sample assessments online to get a better understanding of how students are assessed and of the assessments?
The best way to go about this is to arrange a live demo on a one-to-one, so you can see in real time how an assessment is processed and what questions are shown based on the ability of the answers, and also the reporting that comes out of that assessment. So please get in touch with us and we can arrange a live demo for your school.
Great, thanks, Pavlos. Yeah, we will get in touch and we can set up any meetings to see an example of the assessments. So we've got another question here asking, can chem assessments be used to provide evidence for access arrangements? So looking at, can we help build students' learning plans from the results?
Yes, that's the outcome you get from a chem assessment, is to allow you to, excuse me, to understand the ability of your student, and based on that ability to set interventions and structure a plan to support the student throughout the remaining of the academic cycle. And we do advise to the assessment early on in the year, so you have enough time to put those interventions in place.
Great, thank you. And we've got a couple of questions coming in just about pricing and quotes and where we can find more information about the pricing.
You can visit our website, www.chem.org, where you can find all the latest information about all the assessment, the year groups, the benefits for each stage of the assessments. The best thing I would do, if I was in your case, just contact me either by email or through LinkedIn, and we can look at your needs, your school needs, teacher needs, and we can discuss how we can support your school in using our assessments.
Great, thank you. And we have a question here about using chem assessments for Cambridge schools. So if we're following the Cambridge curriculum, how do chem assessments support that? I think you touched on this a little bit, but
yes. Yeah, that would be the ideal way to go. If you're a Cambridge school, our Cambridge chem assessments complement the pathway of a Cambridge school. So one will complement the other. So they will work along the same route to support student learning and also identifiability of that particular student or cohort.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And there's the chem assessments cover a range of age groups, and they match really nicely to the Cambridge curriculum, so you can follow through with those. Let me see if we have any more questions. So there's a question here about reporting and asking if or how the reports identify gaps in students' objectives and understanding, and how that data can be used.
Yeah, the reporting is a very clever tool that we use. It's based on over 40 years of research in providing assessments. So the data that's built into the reporting can compare exactly what the ability of that student is, and pinpoint I would say the pressure points that the school needs to look into deeper to understand for that particular student. So each assessment will have a different reporting from early years all the way to post-16 to apply exactly what the students' needs are for interventions for the school to put in place. So it's a very, very clever tool, and that's what makes a big difference.
Great, thank you, Pavlos. We also have a couple of questions about using chem assessments for students with English as a second or additional language, and the suitability of the assessments there.
100%. That's what they're suitable for. You know, for English as a second language learners, it's 100% aimed at those students, as well as, with English as first language. So our assessments have been created with that in mind. So it's, again, ideal for international schools.
Yep, I think we've got time for a few more questions. So please do post any remaining questions you have in the question box on the right-hand side of your screen. We've got a question here about student feedback on the assessments, or that is to say, how do we share the results or the assessment results with students?
The reporting will help do that. You'll get different reporting for the school to see and different reporting to share with parents and carers. So you'll be able to have discussions within the department or the head of the year of the school, as well as with parents on a different basis. So you'll have more or less, again, the most particular areas to discuss with the parents or the carers of the child. So yeah, that's the aim, again, of our assessments, is to help understand where the student is at that particular time that the test is taken and what potential that student has to excel throughout the year and in the whole duration of his studies or her studies.
Great, thank you. And I think we've got time for one final question. So there's lots of, this person's asking that there's lots of data to assess and lots of different reports, obviously looking both for the individual student and for the whole school. What are your thoughts on, or how might we share best practice from class to class and across the school?
Yeah, it's a whole school view. So you can see that in a non-judgmental way, where teachers might need extra support and to be able to share best practice.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's good to get a view of the whole school and to see where the sort of strengths and weaknesses are in the school, and to put different classroom teachers to be able to support each other. So I think that is all we've got time for on questions. If there are a couple of ones, yeah, if there's any we haven't had a chance to get around to, we'll be sending around the answers to any unanswered questions after the session. So I just want to say another thank you to Pavlos for his presentation. And we hope that if you found this webinar interesting and you'd like to have a deeper conversation about how CEM can support your school, please don't hesitate to get in touch. You can find all of our contact details on our website, or email us at cem@cambridge.org. You've got Pavlos's email and LinkedIn information on the screen for you there. We'll be sending the recording round in the next week, so you can refer back to anything we discussed today. So thank you once again for joining us today. We really hope to see you again at another webinar soon. Thank you, everyone.